Our students are coming from the front lines, fighting for their lives. They're going to upskill, and we're going to send them back. There's no greater responsibility that we can have.
34 countries are helping train Ukrainian soldiers, but what challenges do they face? And which country is investing the most in training Ukraine's military? Let's break it down. In 2024 alone, around 20,000 Ukrainian troops have undergone training in Germany. Most of them learned to operate NATO-standard armored vehicles, the Leopard and the Abrams. But even the famously precise Germans ran into problems training Ukrainian crews. The first issue was training on the Leopard 1A5s, older tanks Germany has been sending to Ukraine. The problem? Most of the instructors for this vehicle in Germany are now retired. Finding people who can teach how to run the aging 1A5 isn't easy. Second, Germany and Ukraine have very different views on how tanks should be used. NATO's approach hasn't changed in decades. Treat tanks like a fist on the battlefield, punching through enemy lines. But the reality of the Russian-Ukrainian war forces Ukrainian troops to use tanks one by one in hit-and-run tactics. Sometimes they even have to dig underground shelters for the vehicles. And there's another thing. Germany still doesn't have any real solutions for protecting tanks from drones. Now they're learning from Ukrainian tankers instead. Despite everything, the training is paying off. Leopard crews are active and destroying the enemy every day. But one country may be helping new Ukrainian recruits more than anyone else. In summer 2022, the UK launched Operation Interflex, and 12 more countries joined in. The training effort was so massive that some British soldiers started complaining there weren't enough training grounds left for them. The UK trains almost every specialty, from infantry to pilots, and instructors tailor their programs to match what Ukrainian soldiers will actually face on the battlefield. Trench warfare. We haven't seen this kind of combat in a long time. A conflict like this between Russia and Ukraine is something we haven't witnessed in decades, so we're organizing the training to prepare them for what they'll really see out there. As part of the training, Ukrainian troops are practicing battlefield medicine, countering enemy drones, and urban combat. The training we're doing here will have a major impact in Ukraine as soon as they leave the UK. Being an instructor here is a real honor for me, and I can feel the contribution we're making to the Ukrainian armed forces. Beyond basic training, let's talk about pilot training. The exact number of pilots training in the UK remains undisclosed, but British instructors understand how important this program is.
Our whole aim here is to improve their English language, is to prepare them for the next stage of flying training, and then on to F-16.
And our goal is to get this video in front of as many people as possible. So don't forget to hit that like button. The truth is, the UK hasn't had much recent experience with exhausting air battles beyond visual range, or dodging precision missile strikes, let alone bombing from steep dive angles. Unfortunately, the UK also lacks a sufficient number of jet trainers for foundational F-16 training. That's why the UK currently provides only the initial flight training for pilot cadets. Still, that's already a big step for young Ukrainian aviators.
They know the gravity of this. They are facing a threat for their very existence. They need to get this done. We need to get them home so they can fly, fight, and win. Because if they don't, Europe will be turned into war.
And every pilot cadet training to defend Ukraine's skies fully understands just how dangerous their job is.
I showed them a picture of my daughter and my family, and one of the young men looked at me and said, "You are very lucky." I said, "Why do you say that?" And he said, "I don't think I'll ever have that." So he was very aware of his mortality and he might die in the next few years. And at 22, that's a big ask.
And by the way, it's not just the British who are training Ukrainian pilots. French training centers are working with Ukrainian assault pilots, Caesar howitzer operators, and now Mirage 2000 fighter pilots. Let's start with the ground forces. France was the first country to fully implement the idea of a ready-to-deploy brigade. The 155th Separate Mechanized Brigade, named after Anna of Kiev, was fully equipped and trained in France as a single unit. That's unique, because the cohesion and skills they gained during training carry over into actual combat. Behind you is the equipment: the AMX-10 armored fighting vehicle, Caesar self-propelled howitzers, infantry carriers, all of this will be provided to their brigade. Subscribing while watching really helps boost the video's reach, so don't be shy. And, of course, we have to mention the French fighter jets, which have been a serious boost to Ukraine's air defenses. Pilot training is conducted in total secrecy, so the footage you're seeing is the only one released by the French Ministry of Defense. But there's no shortage of training videos from another country, one of Ukraine's closest allies and next-door neighbors. Understanding that solid training for Ukrainian soldiers today might save the lives of Polish troops tomorrow, Poland has launched a massive campaign to train Ukrainian servicemen.
Dowodzenie na przekazywanie informacji.
Ukrainian soldiers who come to us for training don't have any prior experience. They start here basically from scratch. From weapons prep and basic shooting to fire control drills with a mechanized company in defense and assault. We often train soldiers from zero over a few weeks, and by the end, we form a real combat-ready company. Poland plays a leading role in the European Union military assistance mission in support of Ukraine, UMAM. To date, we've trained over 13,000 Ukrainian soldiers. We conduct everything from specialized training for professionals, mechanics, logisticians, artillerymen, air defense, to other roles needed for operating various types of military equipment. That number, 13,000, reflects just 1 year. In total, about 26,000 troops have trained in Poland alone during the course of the mission. That's 1/3 of all Ukrainians trained abroad. Not bad, right? But it's not all smooth sailing. Neither Ukraine nor Poland was fully prepared for the challenges of large-scale war. Unlike NATO countries, where recruits might spend months in training, Ukrainians only get 4 to 5 weeks. This means complex maneuvers and tactics are practiced in a rush. Worse still, the gains made in training are often lost once the troops return home. These trained soldiers are scattered into different units, and the most important thing, unit cohesion, gets lost. Add to that a shortage of instructors, problems with equipment, and differences in doctrine, and it becomes clear. The system still needs improvement. Still, there are plenty of bright spots. Take Leopard tank training, for example. These crews didn't just walk in off the street. They already had experience on Soviet hardware. All my soldiers, and me too, we came from the Eastern Front, Donetsk, Luhansk. My guys have combat experience. They're not fresh recruits. We've already been working with tanks for a while, so learning this one is much easier for them. And here's Vadim. He's 57, and when the full-scale war started, he was already retired, but he came back to help his comrades. Leopard training in Poland is also accelerated. Crews and tech staff get just 1 month instead of 3 like in NATO countries. Still, Ukrainian troops adapt quickly to Western systems after years with Soviet gear. Ukrainian soldiers are impressed by the Leopard 2's capability. They've noted how spacious it is inside and how modern the tech is. Ukrainians are also training on this same model in Spain, one of the first countries to welcome them. The development and progress of Ukrainian soldiers is impressive. Their motivation leads to huge improvement, changes you can see with the naked eye. This training is really paying off. In addition to that, Spain is also training sappers, artillerymen, and of course, infantry, including women. 4 Ukrainian women are undergoing the exact same program as the men. Same gear, same drills, same expectations. No difference whatsoever. But Spain could be doing more. They've only trained around 2,500 Ukrainians per year, a relatively small number considering Spain's military is no joke, with around 120,000 active personnel. But the biggest military supporting Ukraine is, of course, the United States. Due to obvious geographic reasons, infantry troops aren't sent to the US for training. Instead, Ukrainian soldiers head there to learn how to use highly specialized equipment, like the Patriot air defense system. Dozens of Ukrainian service members have trained to operate the Patriot in Oklahoma. Despite some critics, the state welcomed them warmly. Finally, Ukrainian troops have arrived here in Oklahoma for training. I was excited because I know how important this is for them. And I understand how important it is for us to support their fight for freedom. Roughly 100 Ukrainian soldiers have completed this training already, and it's proven enough to let them effectively protect Ukrainian skies. By the way, we have a whole video about that. But there are things even American instructors can't teach. like what to do when a Russian anti-radar system like the KH-31 is inbound, but you still have to keep intercepting targets during a massive missile strike. Or how to keep Patriot and NASAMS systems powered in the field, systems that ideally rely on a stable power grid. That's a major giveaway in a war where electricity can betray your position. Solutions to these problems are being found on the battlefield itself. Now, let's move north, to a country whose military traditions might surprise you. Sweden. Ukraine's military ties with Sweden go way back. The Swedish Army Museum even holds 17th century battle flags from Ukrainian Cossack forces. Today, Sweden is still supporting its historic ally, training Ukrainian troops on one of the best self-propelled artillery systems in the world, the Archer. Sweden can't train tens of thousands, but what it lacks in quantity, it makes up for in quality. We trained in Sweden 2 months ago. It was tough. No days off, very demanding. Thankfully, we had great instructors and translators. We were lucky to work with such a team. Swedes are also preparing troops for very specific operations. 40 Swedish instructors in Romania are training Ukrainian Marines to operate the Swedish CB-90 assault boat. Still, it's hard to fully prepare Marines for the wide range of tasks they'll face, especially those assigned by Ukraine's defense intelligence. CB-90 crews rarely have a quiet day. Since we received these boats, we haven't had a single routine mission. Every day, it's something different. A new order, a new objective. Day or night, we're always on standby. At nearly every training base in Europe, you'll find instructors from all over. But special mention should go to the Baltic States. These countries are putting in the work to ensure that Russia never breaks the only European army capable of resisting it. Let's not forget the contributions of Norway, the Netherlands, the Czech Republic, and many others, each deserving a full video of their own. Europe's militarization doesn't just benefit Ukraine. Every instructor who hears a Ukrainian soldier's story understands exactly what they're fighting for. And that's why we're hopeful for even stronger and smarter training programs across Europe and Ukraine, all for the sake of our shared security. And now a question for you. Who do you think is helping Ukraine the most with training? Poland? The UK? Or do you have your own candidate? What topic should we cover next? Drop your ideas in the comments. We'll choose from the most liked ones.